what's going on, everybody? Good afternoon. It's 12:03 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. My name's Dave Mcrae, coming to you live from the VoiceMann Studios in Toronto, Canada. The date today is Tuesday, July the 27th, 2021. This is episode 194 of Mcrae Live. And what are we talking about today? What is on the agenda today? There's a lot of big things that are happening over the last few days, but there's two things that I want to talk about today, and that is the new Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer that dropped today. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Let's talk about it. And also this Exorcist Trilogy news. We're going to talk about that as well. But before we get over to the Exorcist stuff, let's talk about this new Ghostbusters trailer. Now, I'm not gonna do a, I'm not gonna watch it. I mean, I have seen it, but I'm not gonna, react to it here. I suggest you go and you watch it yourself, and then come back and watch this to get my thoughts on it. Listen, I'm a big Ghostbusters fan. Really love the 1984 original. It's the best one. The 1989 one is, it's fun. I mean, it's not I don't think it's a terrible movie. I mean, maybe in comparison to the original, it sort of comes in a little flat. But I still think there's a lot of fun to be had in that movie. And then, of course, I have to be honest with you, I didn't mind the 2016 reboot. I didn't mind it. I thought actually it was, look, and I think it's because you have talent there. Paul Feig is a talented director. I mean, Bridesmaids, The Heat, Spy. I mean, those are all really beyond serviceable comedies. I mean, they're really good, well put together comedic films. And I think Ghostbusters was pretty good. I just think it was unnecessary to do that. They should have just been doing this from the get-go. But I'm not one of these people that jumps on the, woke train unnecessarily. There are a section of the population and YouTube people out there that think everything and anything is woke just because they have something in a certain thing. And I'm not saying that Ghostbusters 16 was not that. It just didn't bother me. I'm always going to be honest with you. As I always say, don't come to my channel looking for me to confirm what you already like. Come to my channel to find out what I think, and then we'll see if it aligns with you. But I actually thought, the Ghostbusters 16 film was very entertaining. I didn't think it was great, but I just thought it was very entertaining. But I was really excited to learn that they were going back and they were going to do, it looks like a direct sequel to the original film. I even watched the behind the scenes. There's about a 15-minute breakdown with Jason Reitman, who's the director of this movie, the son of Ivan Reitman. And if you haven't seen that, check that out as well. Watch the trailer, two and a half minutes or so, then watch the 15-minute breakdown that Jason Reitman does of the trailer, and he gives you some insights and information to what it's all about, and sort of the creative choices and the mindset that they had going into what they were presenting. It's really fascinating. I always find it's like a director's commentary for the trailer. I mean, that's really what it is. So it's really cool. And but you get the impression with a lot of what he's talking about and how he's sort of speaking. And again, I haven't seen the movie, but I get the sense that this really is a direct sequel to the original, and the original only. I don't know how I feel about that, because although I think part 2 is not as good as the first movie, I don't think it's a movie that necessarily needs to be erased from existence. Now, this also could be a situation where they don't necessarily erase it, they just don't acknowledge it. Do you know what I mean? So from a certain point of view, they're Obi-Wan Kenobiing it. So yes, it's gone from a certain point of view. But if at any given time they wanted to do like a sequel to this new movie that's coming out and somehow acknowledge the events from 1989, they could. And it wouldn't feel out of place or weird or strange. So I'm getting the impression that that's how they're going to approach this, that this really is all about the 1984 original, and that just because you don't hear them, and to be fair, I don't know for sure, but if the movie goes from A to B and there's no acknowledgement of the 1989 film, that doesn't, unless there's something that really tells us that they're pretending it does not exist. But if there isn't anything and there just isn't an acknowledgement, that doesn't mean it's not canon still. But I find that interesting because, again, I don't think the 89 film's awful. I think it's worthy of being there. But the other thing that is fascinating, though, as I was watching the trailer, of course, and this is not really a spoiler, we've sort of known this, you know, this is following Egon Spengler's family. I mean, this is Egon Spengler's daughter and her kids, his grandkids. So that might be part of the reason why maybe the 89 film is, because if you think about it logically in terms of age, right? Finn Wolfhard looks about what? I don't know, what? 15? I mean, in real life, he's like 19 or whatever he is. I don't know if he's playing somebody who's 19 in the movie, but he looks like maybe somebody who could be 15 to 19, right? And then the younger girl looks like maybe she's what? I don't know, like 11, 12, somewhere in there. Well, when you look at the math, in terms of the years, I mean, if you want to acknowledge the 1989 original, where was Egon's daughter? Like, where was his daughter, right? I mean, his daughter, let's say his daughter was born in 89, right? Well, his daughter would be 30, 31 right now, a little young to have a 19-year-old kid, or even a 16-year-old kid would be kind of strange unless she got knocked up at like 15. So, I mean, it makes more sense that perhaps this is just a direct sequel to the 84 film only, because you could say that, well, Egon, had a kid in 1985, right? A year later or even 2 years later, and then that would make his daughter like 35 or 36 now, and more plausible to have two kids of that age. Do you know what I mean? And I think about these things when I watch the film or watch the trailer, because I'm trying to decipher where is this in the where is this in the timeline, and does it make sense that he would have it? And listen, we don't know how old his daughter is, but looking at her, I don't know how old the actress is, but depending on how old the actress is, that doesn't necessarily mean they're playing that age. But looking at her, she doesn't look like somebody who's 25. Do you know what I mean? Like, she looks like somebody who would be like, in her early to mid 30s, let's say, right? At the very least. So that's why I'm like, yeah, it kind of makes more sense to me at the very least that, because where would his daughter have been? There was no acknowledgement of a young girl or an infant or a baby in 1989. And let's say he had her in 1991 or 2. Well, that would make her like 29, 30. Again, too young to have kids the ages of these kids in this film. Not the younger girl, but the older kid, depending on what they're playing. So I think about that. That's one thing that stood out to me. So I find that interesting and fascinating. Anyway, all that aside about, the timeline and all that kind of stuff, what did I think of the trailer? I loved it. I thought it was great. I loved I'm not a big Paul Rudd fan, but I like the character he's playing in this film. I think I'm going to, I don't hate him or anything like that. I just mean that I don't, Paul Rudd, whatever. I could take him or leave him, not a big deal. But I really like sort of the character he seems to be playing in this film. And there's going to be a lot of nostalgia. There's going to be a lot of throwbacks. I love the mini little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men. That was fucking awesome. If you watch the 15-minute director's commentary of the trailer, you'll find out that they decided to do that because obviously they had the big gigantic Stay Puft Marshmallow Man in the first one. They had the Statue of Liberty in the second one walking down the street. And in the 16 film, even though it's not canon, it still exists. And they had the big ghosts in the face coming out. And they wanted to do something a bit different. Like, they didn't want to have another gigantic. So they created these little Stay Puft Marshmallow Men, sort of in the vein of like Gremlins or something. You imagine like all these little evil. I think it's fucking genius. I think that is awesome. And I can only imagine, I don't know how far they're going to go with it. I don't know if it's just going to be a Walmart thing contained in this Walmart thing. Because I think he's in a Walmart. And maybe it is. Maybe it's just a scene in a Walmart. But I think it would be really fucking cool if those Stay Puft Marshmallow Men like escape the Walmart and are all like running along this and fucking into houses and shit and like eating people and stuff. That'd be amazing. So I really like that. Like the character of Paul Rudd so far. And I also see the criticism of, it looks like Stranger Things. Guys, I don't know what. Let's not forget this. No. Stranger Things is very much Ghostbusters, or I understand that Ghostbusters wasn't children, and I understand that that's what they're talking about. But I just find it funny how so many people now compare things to Stranger Things when Stranger Things itself is a knockoff of this era. Do you know what I mean? So it's, I mean, I get what they're saying, but it's just like, I think they probably wouldn't be saying that if, you know, you didn't have Finn Wolfhard in there or whatever. But at the end of the day, it didn't bother me. You know, we know Bill Murray's back. We know Dan Aykroyd's back. We know Annie Potts is back. We saw Annie Potts in the fucking trailer. That was great. She looks fantastic, doesn't she? She looks beautiful. My God, she looks radiant still. And obviously she's like been taking care of Egon. Obviously he's passed away, but maybe they got married. You know, I didn't get the sense, and to be fair, I only watched it twice. I'll have to watch it again. I didn't get the sense that Janine was this woman's mother. I didn't get that sense. So to be fair, hang on a sec here. To be fair, maybe Egon did have a daughter in 1982 or 83, but we just never heard about her and she lived with their mother. We don't know who the mother is. That's possible too. That's possible too. It's not necessarily that he would have had a kid after the events of 1984. He could have had kids before that, and they just were living with the mother, and we didn't know about it, right? It could just be like a story to his life that we're just not privy to yet. That's always possible. I didn't get the sense that Potts was her mother, but I'll have to watch it again. But nonetheless, we know that she was taking care of him, and we do know that the old school Sigourney Weaver's in this movie. We know that, right? We know that they are back. But I think it's important to understand, and although I haven't seen the movie yet, I think it's important to understand that they logically will not be the focus. If you are expecting Ghostbusters Afterlife to be, you know, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, you know, donning the suit again, and the entire movie is about them banding together again. It's not. That doesn't mean that they're not in it and they're not there and they don't play a big role. But I just don't want people to think that it's a direct sequel in the sense that we're following those three again and they put on the suits and they're out there. I mean, maybe they put on the suits and do a bit of choo 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 choo. I don't know, but I'm just saying everything I've heard about the film, and I know a couple of people that have seen it. You know, it doesn't sound like that. But that doesn't mean that but what it does sound like is that it's one big nostalgia-filled awesome ride. You know what I mean? And it's going to pull on the heartstrings, and it's going to, you know, and that's what it looks. It looks like it's being faithful to like watching this trailer looks. And we've only seen the tip of the iceberg. I mean, let's be honest. But it really does look like it's being faithful to the original. The style, the aesthetic, you know, the special effects, you know, seeing some of those old school ghosts and that fucking, what was the hybrid dog name or whatever that was claymation in the original. It's back, you know, like it looks like there's going to be some fan service, but they're pushing the narrative forward. They're telling a new story. And, you know, it's about family, like Jason Reitman said. And of course, he has an emotional tie to that because his dad directed the first two Ghostbusters films. And he himself, as a young child, was on the set of the original Ghostbusters. So there's definitely a family connection there. There's an emotional attachment, nostalgic attachment, even for the filmmakers themselves. And so certainly I think you're going to see that heart in this movie. Whether it resonates with you or not, who knows? But you're definitely going to see that effort and that heart to bring it back to its roots, still push it forward, because you can't just make the same movie over again, tell a new story, because let's face it, these guys are in their fucking 70s now. They need to tell a new story. And you know, I'm excited to see what they do. And it's just the look of the picture, the aesthetic, the feel, the music does feel I'm like, okay, it's got me. It's got me there. I want to see what happens. And of course, the very last shot of the trailer is you have, you know, we're back in that. See, that's what's interesting too, is that the bookstore that's in Ghostbusters 2. Wait a minute. Was it the same bookstore in I can't remember if that bookstore was in Ghostbusters 1. I stand to be corrected. But it's definitely in Ghostbusters 2. And that, I believe, is the bookstore that Dan Aykroyd's character is in at the very last shot of the Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer. When you see the red phone and he picks up the phone, because they talk about this in the director's commentary breakdown of the trailer. They talk about this. So if that bookstore makes its first appearance in Ghostbusters 2, then by all accounts, Ghostbusters 2 may very well be canon. And it probably is, they just aren't really acknowledging it. Or maybe there will be some sort of throwaway line that makes you know that, oh, yeah, it is canon, right? So we'll see. But that last shot is Dan Aykroyd. It's Dan Aykroyd. And that's really, really cool. The only thing I will say, because we did see a trailer for Ghostbusters Afterlife last year, because the movie was supposed to come out last year. So we have seen a trailer already for this movie. This isn't the first look at the film. We see a bit more, definitely, and we see get more of a sense of the story. But I think because we're only several months away from the release of this picture, I know they're holding things close to the vest. I understand it. I get it. But I think it would have been cool if we didn't see, not Dan Aykroyd. I know Dan Aykroyd is like the leader of, it was his idea. He conceptualized and he thunk up, Ghostbusters. He was the brainchild of the original Ghostbusters movie. Without him, there would be no Ghostbusters. So I understand that he's sort of like the unofficial leader and spokesperson for Ghostbusters. And with Harold Ramis gone and Bill Murray distancing himself from the series forever and ever and ever over the decades, and Ernie Hudson not really he's not really an advocate necessarily, it makes sense. And because Dan Aykroyd already has a fascination with the paranormal and all that kind of jazz, it makes sense that he's sort of like the leader, the unofficial spokesperson, or the official spokesperson for Ghostbusters. So I understand why you would have him in there, Now you don't see his face, you only see his hands, and you hear him say, like, we're closed or something like that. And it's him. You definitely know it's him. The only thing I will say is that I wish we could have seen, we saw Annie Potts. That's cool. We saw Annie Potts. And maybe that's why they felt like they didn't need to do this. I think it would have been cool if we saw Sigourney Weaver. And just something with Sigourney Weaver. But I know they don't want to give that away. And I understand that. I totally get it. But it's because in the 2016 film, Dan Aykroyd was in that. Bill Murray was in that. Ernie Hudson was in that film. So we have seen them, and I know they weren't playing Peter Venkman, Ray Stantz, and Winston Zeddemore. I know they weren't playing those characters in the 2016 film, but we have seen them kind of return, but we've never seen Weaver. So I think that would have been cool. Just a little something, like last shot, maybe, maybe Sigourney Weaver walks into the bookstore or something, right? And the camera sort of like, we see kind of her torso or something, and she and her face, and the camera and I don't even know if they shot this kind of shit. Like, I don't know what the end point is for these new characters. So what I'm explaining here, this shot may not exist. This shot may not make sense for the film. But just off the top of my head, you see her torso and the camera tilts up like this, and you see her face and she says a line or something. It's like, it's fucking her. That would have been cool because we've never seen that. And that would have been cool. Dan Aykroyd is kind of, it's like expected. It's kind of predictable. Like he's the guy, but that's a minor nitpick that it doesn't take away from still the awesomeness of seeing that phone and Dan Aykroyd picking up the phone. Still fucking awesome. Seeing Annie Potts looks great. Again, the Stranger Things comparison, it doesn't bother me. It really doesn't. I can understand why people are making that connection, but for me, I see Ghostbusters. I see a new version, an evolution of the story, connecting to the nostalgia and the heartstrings of the original, which is what you want. If you're going to do it, right? If you're going to fucking do it, right? And they've done that, and it makes me want to see more. I don't know if there will be another trailer. There definitely will be TV TV spots, for sure. Will there be another trailer? Maybe. The film doesn't come out till November, so possibly. But I'm in. I can't wait to see this. I definitely want to see this. It looks like it pays respect to the original film. And that's what you want. You don't have to like this movie as much as the original. You don't have to. Do not go in. I'm not saying you won't. I'm just saying do not go into this movie wanting to like it as much as the original. Don't go into this movie expecting to get, to walk out going, oh my God, it's better than the original. Maybe it will be for you, but just go in looking for them to pay respect and justice to the original of what came before, right? Telling a new story, evolving the narrative, pushing it forward. But if you can walk out of the theater going, you know what, that was fun. That was well done, guys. That was cool. Then they've done their job. They've done their job, right? That's the least you can ask. It's the least you can ask is just, for us to walk out going, you know what? That was pretty good. That was all right. That was fun. That was fun. Good job. That's it. Don't go in expecting this monumental, fucking thing. I mean, just temper your expectations and I think you'll be satisfied. So it looks good to me. Anyways, if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on the new Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer. I thought it looked great. It's definitely got me hyped. It's definitely got me intrigued. It feels like it's living in that same world. It feels like there's a little bit of that tongue-in-cheek living in that same world, and I really appreciate that, for sure. So I'm excited about that. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is this Exorcist news that dropped the other day. Exorcist news that dropped the other day. This comes to us from Bloody Disgusting, ladies and gentlemen. Universal and Peacock spend a whopping $400 million for new Exorcist Trilogy. Ellen, is it Burstyn? Burstyn? Is that how you say that? Burstyn? I might be getting that wrong. To reprise her role. If you don't know who she is, folks, well, she played Reagan's mother in the original Exorcist. That is a fantastic fucking shot, if I do say so myself. It says here, major breaking news will have your head spinning. I see what you did there, Bloody Disgusting. Universal Pictures has teamed up with Peacock to close a $400 million plus mega deal to buy a new Exorcist trilogy, reports the New York Times. Donna Langley, the film studio chairwoman, teamed with Peacock, NBC Universal's. And here's what's interesting too. People have to remember that the $400 million they've spent, I stand to be corrected, but just implementing what I know about how these things work, that doesn't mean that the budget is going to be 400 divided by 3, okay? Which is what, like 130 million. Whoever is it, I think it's Blumhouse, right? Blumhouse is not going to be, spending $130 million on an Exorcist film. Okay, I imagine that the movie will still cost probably about 10 or 15 million bucks to make or something like that. The $400+ million probably includes, distribution rights, streaming rights. There's other things they have paid for. Okay, so because I see a lot of people saying, oh my God, they spent $400 million on a trilogy. So that means 400 divided by 3. So the budget for each movie is going to be like $140 million or like $100 million bucks or $120 million bucks. No, that's not what it means. That's not what it means. This isn't the budget for each movie. This is the cost to get everything. It's the rights to do this. The distribution, the budget is on top of this. There you go. Darren says, no, the budget is on top of this $400 million. Exactly. This is not $400 million divided by 3. So I just want people to because I see a lot of people saying that, and I'm reading it and I'm like, nah, that's not. And now I haven't read the rest of the article here. I read another article talking about this, but I haven't read the Bloody Disgusting one. So I don't know if they mention this or not. But this is distribution, streaming. IP. I mean, it's a whole bunch of shit. It's a whole bunch of shit. So it's not 400 divided by 3. Okay, Universal is not going to be making. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? Universal Exorcist Part 2. What's the budget? 130 million. Holy fuck! What are you doing? Who does this star? Stallone, Harrison Ford, Chris Pratt. You know, it's an ensemble cast. So just keep that in mind, okay? Please keep that in mind as we move forward. These people who spoke on the condition of anonymity to discuss the still private deal said the price was in the vicinity of $465 million that Netflix paid in March for 2 sequels to the 2019's Who Done It Knives Out. So it's in the vicinity of that. Leslie Odom, am I saying that right? Leslie Odom Jr., Hamilton, Knives Out 2, will star in a new Exorcist trilogy, the first of which is confirmed to be directed by David Gordon Green. I'm telling you, quote, I'm telling you that thing upstairs, quote, I'm telling you that thing upstairs isn't my daughter. In more surprising news, Oscar winner Ellen Burstyn, again, I think I'm saying that right. I could be off of that. My apologies. Will reprise her role as Chris McNeil from the 1973 classic Mother to the Possessed and Tortured Reagan McNeil, played by, that says Inda Blair. I wonder if she's related to Linda Blair. Boom, 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 boom. I know that was terrible. Obviously a typo. Played by Linda Blair. As for story details, Odom Jr. will play the father of a possessed child desperate for help. He tracks down Miss Burstyn's character. The casting confirms this new Exorcist trilogy won't be a remake, but a successor, similar to what Green did with John Carpenter's Halloween. Green went on record about the film just last week. Scott Teems, Halloween Kills, The Quarry, I think that is. Danny McBride, Halloween Kills, Halloween. Is that Quarry or Quarry? It's hard to see. It's very light. I should bring this up bigger, actually. It's very... The text on Bloody Disgust, the bold text is easier to read. I guess I could read it from over here, but the bold text is easier to read on my screen here in the actual software, because that's where I'm reading it. Anyway, whatever. Danny McBride, Halloween Kills, Halloween, and David Gordon Green teamed up for the story being penned by Peter Sattler, Broken Diamonds, and David Gordon Green, Bloody Disgusting Learned. Blumhouse is producing with Morgan Creek Entertainment. The first film in the trilogy will be released theatrically on October the 13th, 2023. Bloody Disgusting also discovered. Rob Zombie's The Munsters is also rumored to be a Universal Peacock co-production. The Exorcist franchise has been on the big screen. The Exorcist franchise hasn't been on the big screen since the 2005 release of Dominion, prequel to The Exorcist. Oh, God, yeah. An alternate version of the previous year's Exorcist, The Beginning. Those films came in the wake of 1977's The Exorcist. I remember that. It was an alternate version because wasn't Rennie Harlan did one of those, and then there was like an alternate, like there was like a director debacle or something. I fucking remember that now. Wow, I haven't thought of that in years. Anyway, previous year Exorcist The Beginning. Those films came in the wake of 1977's The Exorcist 2, The Heretic, and 1990's The Exorcist 3. More recently, The Exorcist became a short-lived television series on Fox. At Fox, which was surprisingly excellent and cleverly took place in the same world as the original classic. Was this in the original cut, or is this the director's cut? I think that just might have been in the director's cut. I can't remember that little face that pops up in this scene. And there you have it. And that comes to us from Brad Miska of Bloody Disgusting. Thank you, Brad. Appreciate it. So yeah, so what do you guys think of this? I think the thing that is fascinating is, and this is what people have to understand. Look, when it comes to studios, they follow patterns. And, when you look at what Blumhouse and Universal have done with Halloween, it's no secret that Halloween 2018 was created to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, where if the film was unsuccessful, they did not have to make another one. if it bombed at the box office or it just did, okay, and there really wasn't the response that it had, right? If you watch Halloween 18, although it does end, it feels it ends a little abruptly and a little prematurely, you could end it there, and it does feel like it doesn't need to go on. You can just assume that Michael died in the fire and they got Laurie to the hospital. It doesn't, you don't need to. I know there's the breathing at the end, but that doesn't, that could also be taken as more of symbolism than, you can take that philosophically rather than literally, right? It's just symbolic that evil never dies, and maybe Michael died in the fire, but evil will always, live on or whatever, right? So it does have a beginning, middle, and an end in its own right. And a lot of the times when you plan out trilogies, you do that. Your first one will end, even the original Star Wars, ended in sort of that way. We know that Darth Vader, flew off into the ether of space, but you didn't have to make another one. You didn't it does have a beginning, middle, and an end. The heroes, they blow up the Death Star, because you never got the sense, at least I don't recall, you never got the sense in 1977 when you watched that first movie that there were still, other pieces of the Empire out there somewhere. Like, it felt very contained, like the Death Star was the Empire, at least to me, right? And that was it. And Darth Vader's now alone flying off into the ether of space. So you didn't have to create another one. And sometimes you will do that just in case, because you don't know that, yes, the movie is kind of open, but you don't have to do another one. And they did that with Halloween 18. I suspect that this first Exorcist installment will be the same thing. It's no coincidence that Blumhouse is doing it, Universal is doing it, David Gordon Green is doing it. They look at what they've been able to do with Halloween and they say, holy shit, can we do this with The Exorcist? They're following patterns, they're following trends. That's what they do. And they see sort of the what worked, the building blocks of what worked with Halloween, which doesn't mean that it's going to work with The Exorcist, but they're willing to give it a shot. So, they've written 3 films, or they've written an overarching story that can encompass 3 films. But I guarantee you that first movie that comes out in 2023, I guess it is, will likely feel contained, because they don't know if it's going to, they don't know if it's going to do, it might bomb. The Exorcist isn't Halloween. I don't know, not that the first film is one of the greatest horror movies of all time. It's one of my favorite horror movies, period. It is like top 5 for me, 100%. It's amazing. And his well, before I get to that part of my thoughts, that's what I think they're going to do. So they've mapped out a story that can be told over 3 films, but I bet you that first movie is going to end similar to Halloween 18, where it kind of feels like it's ended, but there's a few loose ends that if it's hugely successful, they can continue on with their original plan. But if it bombs and doesn't do very well at all, and doesn't meet expectations at all, then they likely will just maybe not. That's what I'm thinking. That's how I feel. They're following the trend. They're following the pattern, right? They want to be safe about it. They don't want to bite off more than they can chew, but they want to see if the same building blocks work for The Exorcist. And you can bet your fucking ass that if Halloween Kills is hugely successful, if Halloween Ends is hugely successful, and that first Exorcist movie is hugely successful, you bet your ass they're going to be twiddling their thumbs going, what other properties can we get the rights to and do that same thing with? Elm Street, Friday. I'm not saying they're going to, but I'm just saying that they follow patterns and trends. And so that's interesting. The other side of it is 3, we're following, because it doesn't sound like it's going to be 3 separate stories. It sounds like it's going to be a continuation from the 1973 classic in terms of like years later, kind of like what I've done with It's Me, Billy, right? In the sense of that it's years later, 50 years later, and it's an extension of that story. It kind of sounds like that's what they're doing. They bring back, Chris McNeil, right? And she's coming back. She's going to be like probably our Loomis. I don't mean literally like Loomis. I just mean that figure that knows it all, that figure that you go to. We see that in films all the time, right? Where we need somebody who's been here. We need somebody who knows what they're talking about. We need somebody who has a history with this. And who better to turn to than, the woman from the original. It wouldn't surprise me if Linda Blair doesn't make an appearance in the first part, but does make an appearance in the second or the third part to close everything home. I can totally see that happening too. This sounds like it might be better suited for a series. And I know they just had an Exorcist series, but, maybe if you had done it this way with original characters, I mean, then again, it is, I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but 3 films. Not 3 different stories, one story told over 3 films. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm cautiously optimistic. I'll be very curious to see what they tell over 3 films. Now, the other side of it is, if you want this, if they're watching, now they've already written the script, and they certainly probably aren't watching and don't give a shit what I think. However, if I had any word of advice, it would be, and I'm sure they're smart enough to know this, that first Exorcist film is not just about, Reagan and the possession. There's more going on there. There's far more going on there. With Father Marion and what he's dealing with and how he sacrifices himself to save a little girl he's never met. And there's a lot of subtext going on there. It's a horror movie, but there's a lot of drama there as well. And when I mean drama, I mean like good character development, good stuff that enriches the characters. It's not like it's, puking green slime every 5 seconds. There's a real good slow burn. They drip feed you, build you to that. That's part of the DNA of The Exorcist. It's like how I talk about Jaws, right? If Jaws, and this was a happy accident because obviously it's because the shark wasn't working and they had to, but Jaws worked so well because we didn't see the shark. And because we didn't see the shark till the last, half hour of the film. And, the characters were so well developed because we were going to spend a lot of time with them. And if you're going to spend a lot of time with characters away from, all the juicy shit, they better be 3-dimensional, well-developed, interesting characters that make us care about them. And it's connected to the overall story, but it's, that was part of The Exorcist as well. They did that with Jaws. That's part of The Exorcist as well. And that's got, in my opinion, if you're going to carry the story forward, that's part of that character DNA. That's part of that continuity. I want to see that. I want to see the drama between the relationships of what's going on. Yeah, have your green slime, have your head turn, have whatever extension and evolution of that you're going to do. But something else that's interesting that we have to be careful of as well is that we've seen a lot of Exorcist movies nowadays that do the whole, and the bending back and the spider walking and the, all this. That's not new anymore. We had never seen that in 1973. I mean, listen, depending on the movie and how it's shot, can still give you the heebie-jeebies, even though there's like 900 movies out there that have that now. But we're so saturated with that now. We've seen so many movies about exorcisms and possessions that do that now. So what are you going to do, David Gordon Green? What are you going to do, Universal and Blumhouse? What are you going to do that makes this different? That makes this not like The Exorcism of Emily Rose, which was a great movie, by the way, but not like that. Not like The Last Exorcism. Not like however many other exorcism, movies there are out there, right? What are you going to do that's different? Because we've seen it all now. And listen, they were inspired by The Exorcist, and they've taken that 1973 film and they've put it out there and they've put it on roids, and we've seen all sorts of crazy shit. So what are you going to do that's different, but still The Exorcist. That's the evolution of the character. I mean, even The Conjuring, has possession and what are we going to see? Is it just going to be, another possession movie with The Exorcist name slapped on it? What are you going to do? What's going to make it different? What's going to draw us in emotionally? What's going to captivate us emotionally? Where we walk out going, what? Because this is the fucking Exorcist. This is one of the greatest, most influential horror films of all time. One of the scariest movies ever made. And I'm sure they haven't taken this lightly. And maybe that's why they needed 3 movies to tell this story. That's also possible as well. Because they're taking it so seriously, it's entirely possible that they need these 3 movies to tell this very, deeper, richer story that they couldn't tell in one movie. So the fact that it is 3 movies may actually be a positive thing rather than a negative thing. Maybe. But that's what I think of. There's a shitload of, are we going to see this new girl in her bed going, yeah, we've seen that 1,000 times. It's not new anymore. Are we going to see her going, yeah, we've heard that 1,000 times. There's like 50 movies I can download right now where it has all of that. What are you going to do that's different? That's the same. I mean, that is part of the DNA of The Exorcist. I mean, obviously we're going to get maybe a transformation and I get you can't void that completely. I understand that. But we've seen it all. What are you going to do? Well, when you get to a point where we've seen it all, as writers and as filmmakers, you want to think about how can we tell this story in a way that hasn't been seen before. So maybe you have seen a neck crack, a tilt, and a spider walk, and maybe, yeah, we're saturated with that now. But hopefully they tell that story in a way you haven't seen it before. And that's really, I think, what's going to be its strength. You know what I mean? How it's shot, the lenses they use, right? How are you telling the story through the lens of the camera? You know what I mean? Just be more mature about it. Be more nuanced about how you're telling this story. This is The Exorcist, guys. You want this is the granddaddy of possession films. You want to rise above all the other possession films that are out there now. You want to rise above that, don't you? You're carrying the name The Exorcist? Holy snap and crap. You need to transcend that. Because if you're not going to transcend it, why bother? It's just going to blend in and be another fucking possession movie that we've seen 50,000 times over the last 25 years. So you need to figure out something that's going to elevate this to the next level. What is that? And I don't know if they've thought about this the way I have. Maybe they have. You would like to think they have. They've written the script, for God's sakes. But what is it? What makes this different than all the other Exorcist movies we have, or possession movies, I should say, that we have? That's what I want to know. And so I'm very curious, cautiously optimistic. But it doesn't surprise me that they're taking this crack. They're following the patterns. It worked. So far, it's working with Halloween. Let's do The Exorcist. And you may roll your eyes and go, it's show business, baby. It's show business. I mean, think of the level they're working at. And this is, it's hard for people to, myself included, because it's not like I have $400 million in the bank account. But it's amazing the level that these people are working at, and that's what, think about that. Think about having a job, being in a position where you are negotiating deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars like it's nothing. Like you just eat a bologna sandwich, you know? Like it's a different world. It's a different level. They don't care what you think. They're not, it's a completely different level. You know, it's like billionaires, right? You know, like imagine being worth even $1 billion, being able to wake up in the morning and have whatever you want. You can have whatever you want. You can go wherever you want. You can do whatever you want. I mean, you know, within reason, obviously, right? I know, well, you can't, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's a different level. They care about us like how we walk past the homeless on the street. And I don't mean that to be mean. I just in the sense of, do we care really? No, we just keep because we're worth so much more than the person on the street who's begging for $5. We're not even thinking about it. We don't care. When you work at that level, and I'm not saying the woman who negotiated this deal is worth $1 billion. I'm just saying when you're working at that level and you're dealing with that kind of cash flow and those kinds of deals and millions of dollars, when you're working at that level, you know, it's an entirely different world. An entirely different world. So while the fans might be rolling their eyes going, here we go, they're just focusing on show business. And they look at patterns and trends and they go, well, you know what, that worked. Hey, why don't we try that for The Exorcist? And why don't we get the guys who made Halloween Kills and, you know, Halloween Ends to do The Exorcist? And why would they do that? Because it's a pattern. They're not going to hire somebody different. Why don't we get the same guys to do it? Because they help to make this a reality. So maybe they can help, you know, to make this a reality. And then if The Exorcist is a huge success, don't be surprised if they go, hey, David Gordon Green, you want Elm Street? I mean, you know, that's kind of, I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that's where we're at, right? So, you know, that's show business. That's the business. It's show business. You know, it's about making as much money as they possibly can. And to be fair, you have to remember that money is borrowed money as well, right? I mean, it's not like you go into a vault. I've said this before. When studios spend $100 million, $200 million, or $400 million to buy something, it's not like somebody walks over to, you know, it's not like somebody at Netflix walks over to Sony, Warner Brothers, right? You know, with a briefcase of like, you know, $100 bills. Here's your, you know, $80 million. I mean, that's not how it works. It's all through banks and, you know, transactions and debt and repaying debt and you know, I mean, it's not like there's a vault in the basement of the studio that they go into and they just take out cash. It's borrowed money, and they have to pay that back, you know, and there's interest on that as well. So, you know, it's fascinating. It does make me a little excited to get, you know, Chris McNeil back. I think that's kind of cool. There's no mention of Linda Blair yet, but that may be because she's not going to be in the first one. And if the first Exorcist sequel here is a huge success, it wouldn't surprise me if they ask her to come back. But because they planned this out over 3 films, I can totally see how perhaps they want to extend that, right? They don't want to, you know, they don't want to peak too soon. They don't want to give you Chris and Reagan in the first movie. They want to, you know, kind of like what they're doing with Cobra Kai. You know, they want to drip feed you and have it over a course of a certain amount of time. So I wouldn't say I'm excited for this. I'm just intrigued. I'm cautiously optimistic. Emphasis on the cautious, because The Exorcist, like I said, top 5 for me. Top 5. I mean, it's, you know, and so I'm kind of like, I don't know. Anyways, folks, comment below and let me know your thoughts. Are you excited about this? Are you rolling your eyes? Are you concerned? 3 movies. Remember, I don't think they're 3 separate stories. I think it's one story being told over 3 films, like what they did with Halloween, right? They're following that pattern. What do you think about this? Are you excited about it? Are you not excited about it? Are you cautiously optimistic like me? If you're watching after the fact or even live right now when the show is done, make sure you comment below and let me know your thoughts on both Ghostbusters Afterlife and this new Exorcist trilogy. Jesus. I don't know. Fascinating stuff. Let's go to your super chats that came in. I believe there was only 1 super chat that came in, and let me go to see if I can snag it here. Go to supers, monetization. There we are. And I think it was just one. Just one that I missed. Real Reveal sends in $3.99, says, have you seen Old yet, Dave? Really good movie. I have not seen Old yet. No, I have not. I've heard mixed to negative reviews, but I'm very glad that you enjoyed it. It's always great when somebody can, when you can enjoy something that others don't necessarily. Joseph Esposito says, Dave, will we ever see them make movies like they used to, where less is more, where we have nuance and real character development like the original Exorcist, Jaws, Halloween Psycho? Well, I think we do see that. I think we do. I mean, there's a lot of movies that have that. In the horror space, though, it's you don't see as much of it as you used to. No. And that's because, the industry has evolved. People's attention spans have diminished. And, we as an audience, there's, if you're uploading videos to YouTube, they actually tell you upload a video 5 minutes or less because nobody gives a fuck. Nobody cares. Folks, when I look at my analytics, and I can see how long you're watching my shit. And when I look at my analytics, for example, I can see videos that I've uploaded that are maybe 10 minutes long, and my analytics will show me that only 60% who watch it watch the full 10 minutes. And I'm like, really? Are we that fucking ADD? You can't even watch 10. It's crazy. It's crazy. So I think, there is this, we're in a situation now where give it to them early, give it to them fast, and peak here because people are going to check out. Because we live in a world now where, especially with the newer generations that are coming up, they interpret nuance, slow as boring. You know what I mean? Because they're so desensitized, they're so inundated with flashy and quick and that it's sort of a lost art now to watch stories that are nuanced and told over more of a not slow pace, but takes their time so yeah. If Jaws was remade today, we'd see the shark in we would see the shark in the first probably 10 minutes of the movie, because we got to give it to the audience. That's what they want to see, there are reasons why Universal shows so much in their trailers. They're competing with streaming services now, and patterns show that if we don't show something to get your ass into the movie theaters, you're just going to stay home. So they have to show you so much. They would probably rather not, but they have to show you a fair bit in the trailer just to entice you to go to the theater. Now, that may not entice you specifically, but patterns have shown that the more they show in a trailer, the more people go and watch the movie. Believe it or not, there's been patterns that have shown that. And that's why they do that. Because if you don't see something that really gets you, and we're talking about average moviegoers, right? We're not talking about already built-in fan bases. We're not talking about me. Listen, I would go see Halloween Kills if they just showed, Michael's toe. And that's all they showed with a flash of Michael's toe and said Halloween Kills. Boom, I'm there. You're there. You know that, right? We're the built-in fan base. But it's the general movie-going audience that made them $255 million of the worldwide box office. It's not that, it's not the Halloween fans. We were a part of that, but we weren't. It's not like that was all because of us or all because of regular horror fans. No, that's because of repeat viewing and general movie-going interest, and that's who they're targeting. When you have a built-in fan base, Star Wars, horror, studios know this. Their marketing departments know this, that yeah, we know that we have a built-in fan base that will come see us no matter what. We have your $10 no matter what. But it's the other people that we want to focus on. So they show a lot in their trailers to entice people. Doesn't this look pretty? Doesn't this look good? Doesn't this look pretty? Doesn't this look good? Because if they don't, if the general movie-going audience doesn't necessarily, see that, or basically they have to work, a lot harder to gain that interest. And if they don't see that, they're like, whatever, why would I'm not going to go, again, I'm speaking generally. Obviously, there's a lot of variables at play, but generally that's sort of what's happening. And that happens in the stories they tell too, not just in the marketing. The stories they tell too are we see that a lot. And that doesn't mean there are not drip feed movies, slow burn, great films out there that are made today. There are. Absolutely there are. But it's not like it used to be. That is true. That is true. And that's also to say that there were never movies that, got to the point really fast 30 years ago either. There were. But it does seem like it does seem like there's been sort of a flip. I do agree. Cody Buchanan sends in $10. Thank you, Cody. Says, I don't know what I'm more excited about, Halloween Kills or Ghostbusters Afterlife. Ghostbusters is my favorite movie of all time, and Halloween is my favorite scary movie of all time. Well, you know what? I got to say this. I think Ghostbusters I might be more excited for Ghostbusters Afterlife. I think it's because with Halloween Kills, I don't know. I mean, it's not that I'm not looking forward to Halloween Kills. It's definitely in my top 10 most anticipated movies of the year. But whether it's my number one or not, I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty pumped to see Candyman. I'm pretty pumped to see Ghostbusters Afterlife. I can't wait to see Bond. Dune. You know what I mean? Like there's other films that at the very least are like, riding my anticipation the same level as Halloween Kills. So, I'm right there with you, man. I am right there with you. Right there with you. Let's see here. Tom Ungurian says, you disagree, Dave. Horror fans brought that money in general. Moviegoers don't watch. 9 out of 10 people I talk to watch horror. I think it's weird. Well, but... Well, I disagree because not everybody that goes to see Halloween is a hardcore horror fan. When I talk about the general movie-going audience, I'm not talking about people that hate horror movies. I'm talking about people that wouldn't necessarily think to go to the theater to see it. That doesn't mean that they wouldn't watch it at home if, their boyfriend saw. I mean, listen, prime example, Bruce, okay? He doesn't mind horror movies, but the horror genre is not Bruce's favorite genre. Bruce's favorite genre is science fiction. Now, those two can be sometimes related, but if it wasn't for me, Bruce wouldn't have gone to see Halloween at TIFF. That was all because of me. Bruce would not have gone to do that on his own. I can guarantee Bruce has not seen anything past Halloween 4. He doesn't care. It's not his. It's not that he doesn't care. But you know how some people are. He appreciates it. He appreciates the original and what it's done. But I wouldn't classify Bruce as a horror movie fan, right? He likes horror, but that's an example, right? If it wasn't for me, Bruce would not have gone to see the movie in the theater. No way. So that's what I'm talking about, right? Is that there's the general movie-going audience beyond the hardcores, beyond the people that are definitely going to go see it. Look, I know horror fans that aren't Halloween fans, right? There's Halloween fans, and then there's horror fans that don't give a fuck about Michael Myers that probably won't go to see it. But you're a horror fan. Yeah, but I don't care about Halloween. I just don't care. So, I'll catch you later. Look at me. I'm a horror fan. Did I go see Slender Man and the Nun in the theater? No, I don't give a fuck. Did I go see Annabelle? No, don't give a shit. I don't give a fuck. I don't care. Do you know what I mean? So it's not black and white, right? There are horror fans. There's Halloween fans. That's the built-in audience, right? There's Halloween fans. They're going to go see it. Then there's horror fans that they need to bring over. And then there's the general movie-going audience they need to bring over as well. That $255 million worldwide was not all horror and Halloween fans. I can guarantee you that. A large portion of that was and it's smart to release it at Halloween time because there's the general movie-going audience that, that gets into the spirit Halloween and they go to the movie theater. I want to see a scary movie. Do you want to see a scary movie? Yeah, let's go see a scary movie. Oh, Halloween. Oh, let's go see that. And then boom, they've got them. You know what I mean? There's those people too. There's people that aren't necessarily emotionally attached to Halloween or horror in general, but because it 'tis the season, they want to watch scary movies. So those are the people they want to bring in as well, right? So it's not just Halloween fans. It's not just Halloween fans. We have to remember that we can sometimes get a very obscured, unrealistic view of what's really going on because we live in a bubble. There's a Halloween bubble and then there's a horror bubble. And a lot of us live in a Halloween bubble. We surround ourselves with other Halloween fans. You watch channels like me, you know, you're on Facebook pages and forums where it's just Halloween. So there's this impression that's created that Halloween's bigger than it really is, or that it's more popular than it really is, or that more people care about it than they really do. And it's like, yeah, all Halloween fans do. There's a large portion of the horror audience that does, but it's beyond that. It's beyond that. It's you know, it would be you know, your aunts, your uncles, your wife or your, you know, husband, or, you know, whatever the case is, right? And that's what it is. That's what it is. That's what it is. They need to appeal to a general, not just fans, because we're built in. They can show Michael's toe and we'll be there day one. It's the other people they need to get in. That's why they show so much. Let me see. Did I miss any of the super chats? I don't think I did. I got the Cody Buchanan one. Okay, good. Brian Weston II says, loved Bill Murray stinger at the end. That's not Bill Murray. That was Dan Aykroyd. Didn't give away too much. Drew me in with mood and atmosphere. That was not Bill Murray. That was Dan Aykroyd, man. That was Ray Stans, my man. Watch it again. It was Ray Stans. Lady Claire says, Dave, Ghostbusters Afterlife will follow the sequel. Jason explains in the breakdown, and the last shot is of Ray. Yes, I saw that. I did see that. Is of, the Ray Occult books from the sequel that they created down to the T. So there you go. Yeah, I did see that. And I talked about, I don't know when you tuned into the show today. I did talk about that earlier when I was breaking down the film, but I wasn't sure whether that bookstore was in the first one. I didn't think it was. So it is in the second one. So that tells us that the second one is canon, but by all accounts, as far as I know, the second one isn't referred to a lot in the movie. And that's sort of what I was kind of... So, but if the second one is canon, then to me, that tells me that, like, I don't believe... I'm having trouble believing that Egon would have had a kid after the events of 1989, and that kid be old enough to have a son as old as Finn Wolfhard now. Do you know what I mean? So either Egon maybe did have a child that we didn't know about, who was maybe living with the mom. Because, you know, like, again, how old is... I know Finn in real life is like 19 or something, but how old is he in this movie? What? Maybe he's 16, let's say? And let's say Egon had a kid in 1990. Well, then that means the woman in this new movie is like 30. So how old did she so she had what? Her son at 14? Like, it's starting to get a little, do you know what I mean? So, because I don't believe the woman in the movie she doesn't look like somebody who, I mean, she could be 30, she could, but then that means that she had Finn when she was 14, which is always possible. It's always possible. It's possible. If I was writing the movie, I would say that maybe Egon always had a daughter that just wasn't talked about in either film and just was living with the mother because the mother didn't approve of his ghost busting. Do you know what I mean? Or his crazy lifestyle, his science, you know, and all that kind of shit. And maybe the mother got full custody because of that. And it's just not something that they talked about. And maybe the daughter was actually born in 1983 or something, like the year before or something like that. I don't know. I'm making this shit up. I don't know if that's what they're going to do. I'm just trying to figure that out. Darren says, all will be explained, Dave. Yes, yes, yes. Good. That's what I want. All will be explained. All will be explained. Yes. Thank you, Mr. Sands of the Slaughtered Lamb Movie Podcast. I appreciate that. But these are the things I'm thinking about. These are the things, as a filmmaker, if I was approaching this kind of a sequel, I'd go, well, we got to think about this. Like, I don't know. but it will be explained. And I suspect it will be. But that's cool, though. That's cool that it is cool that you do see the bookstore. And it is cool that because, there would, like I said at the beginning of the show today, there would be no reason to not include it. Like, I know it wasn't a fan favorite per se and whatnot, but it's not like it was awful, there'd be no reason to not include it. So it's nice to see that they have the bookstore there and that the bookstore is only a Ghostbusters 2 thing, which tells us that clearly Ghostbusters 2 is canon, maybe just not talked about. I'm down for that. I'm excited to see it. I want to see it. It makes me want to go watch the original now. Maybe I'll do that. I'm excited. I am excited. Thank you, Linda Claire, for your message. Appreciate that. My chair is so squeaky now. I gotta oil it. It didn't used to be this squeaky. Destiny Faulkner says, hey, my mom had me at 14. That's true. It's always possible. Not common, but it's always possible. So you are right, Destiny. You are correct. Justin Hill says, hey, Dave, I think Michael twirling the fire tool coming out of the house gives him too much personality and swag, like he's ready for war when he should be in the shadows being strategic. Your thoughts? Did he twirl it? I don't recall him twirling it. I think I know what you mean, though. He came out and he kind of just like moved it over to his other. I know what you're saying. Well, I didn't really think about it. So it obviously didn't bother me when I saw it. I was aware that he did that. I think if Michael had come out and was like ninja twirling it, let's go, bitches, then yeah. Do you know what I mean? Like he's twirling it like a cheerleader. Then I might be kind of like, that's a little strange. Or he comes out and he's like, then it's kind of like, why are we doing that? But him just kind of maneuvering it over to his other hand, it didn't really bother me. I gotta say. But to your point, the last part of your point, that again, I am fully prepared that this, because I know some things about the movie already. I'm fully prepared to watch epic carnage, blood, guts, gore, high body count, full octane, Michael Myers on steroids. I'm not going into this movie hoping that doesn't happen. I know it's going to happen. So my expectations are like, okay, it is what it is. All I'm looking for is, just like I've said many times on this channel, balance. I want to see some stalking. I want to see some genuine suspense that lasts more than 4 seconds. I want to see Michael emerging from the shadows. Just give me something. That's part of Michael's DNA. That's part of his MO. And then I can be satisfied with all the other shit that you're going to show, because I know, listen, I get it. It's 2021. We want to, I get all that. And I will probably find myself really enjoying the movie because of that. So we'll see. We shall see. No. Okay, good. Just want to make sure. I want to make sure. Andreas Mendez says, I mean, Michael did twirl his knife during the Oscar death scene. He twirled his knife during the Oscar death scene? Twirled it? Like, guys, there's twirling, and then there's just like maneuvering it from this position to that position. Going from this to that. I know what you're talking. I remember the scene you're talking about now. Yeah, as he's walking, he does a thing with his knife. Yes, I remember that. It didn't bother me. It didn't bother me. As he's approaching Oscar at the gate. That's right. It didn't. I'd have to watch it again, but it didn't feel out of place. Because I think he's just moving it from one position to the other position in his hand. I think if he was legitimately twirling it, like he was, playing with it, then I think that becomes that kind of becomes a problem for me. But the other stuff doesn't, for me anyway. For me. The J-Man's Movie Cave. I want to see Michael lurking and stalking. Not sure it will happen. Not sure it will happen either. Die Hard Drummer 84 says, Dave, do you know if we'll have the option to rent Kills on Demand when it comes out, or do you have to go to the theater? Not right away. You will, if things continue to improve and we don't go into another lockdown and the Delta variant doesn't take over. No, you will have to go to the movie theater to see it for sure. At least, I don't know if Universal still has that 19-day policy in check. They might. I'm not sure. For at least the first few weeks, you will have to go to the theater to see it, I would imagine. And then it will either end up on Peacock or PVOD, or I'm not quite sure what the plan is. But if you think you're going to be able to, when Halloween Kills comes out on October 15th, you're not going to be able to rent it on October 15th either, unless something happens with the world. Like unless theaters get shut down again. If theaters get shut down again, I do not think they will move Halloween Kills again. I think they will just bite the bullet and release it to streaming. That's what I think they'll do. You'll still have to pay for it, of course, but I think that's what they'll do. Will they release it simultaneously with Halloween Kills? Not on the same day. No way. No way. Because the box office, the theater, still to this present day is where you make your money. And they're going to want you to go to the theater, because instead of charging you $30 and you can invite 40 of your friends over, so now you're only paying $30 for 40 people, at the movie theater you have to pay for each person individually. So yeah, but whether after a couple of weeks they decide to put it to streaming, I don't know. I don't know what the plan is there, but certainly not day one. Certainly not day one. Barry Kicksass says, yeah, I agree, Lady C. Oh, you're talking to Lady C. All right. Well, there you go. You guys talking amongst each other, which is always good. Jason Badass says, Dave, have you been practicing your Freddy in private, and how will you play him? I have not been practicing my Freddy in private. How will I play him? Well, like I've said many times on the channel, it's my job is not to do a Robert Englund impression. My job is to bring the essence of the character there and to pick up on those tiny nuances. So, things that make Freddy, but also make it my own. My job is, by the end of the film, if you watch the movie and you walk away going, well, that wasn't Robert Englund, but I totally believe that was Freddy Krueger, then I've done my job. That's it. You can't go in thinking about Robert Englund all the time, because that's going to be in the back of your head. And ironically, you're going to fuck shit up, because you're always going to be thinking about it. Am I standing right? Am I doing the laugh right? Am I doing the chuckle right? Do I have my hand right? Don't fucking worry about it. Just, think about certain little mannerisms that make Freddy, right? Like the shoulder down and, things like that. And then do it, make it your own. That's what you do, right? So that's what I'm going to do. And when I presented that to Miko Hughes, he agreed with me 100% on that. So if you don't agree with it, at least he does. And of course, he's a big part of reason that would, or a big, he's a good person to say, I agree with that, obviously. Right. So, that's the approach. That's the approach that I think should be taken to anything, to Indiana Jones, to Han Solo. That's what I really enjoyed about Solo. No, it's not Harrison Ford, but do I believe that could be the same guy at 20 years old? Yeah. I mean, yeah, did it help that he kind of resembled him a little bit? Sure. But it was all about the mannerisms. I totally believe that this was Han Solo at like 22 years old or whatever. You know what I mean? I believed it. Because he wasn't doing a Harrison Ford impression. He brought the essence of the Solo character to the screen. Same thing has to be done here. So that's my approach. Let's see here. Let me see. Who else we got? We got about 10 minutes left in the show, or 15 minutes. 15 minutes left in the show, ladies and germs. 15 minutes left in the show. Joseph Esposito says, Dave, do you have any plans to make future movies? Nothing immediate in terms of we haven't gone into development on anything. But I mean, I don't want to stop making movies. I mean, yeah, I would love to. I know myself and Bruce would love to bookend It's Me, Billy, obviously. I mean, that's not where the story ends. There's an ending to that story, so we would love to finish that and complete that for sure. And there's I have other ideas. I have a feature-length script that I've written, albeit it probably needs some polishing because I haven't touched it in a few years. And I think I've become a better writer and a better script writer over the last few years that I would love to be able to kind of go back to that and maybe polish it a bit. It needs maybe a bit of a rehaul, but I have a feature-length supernatural drama based on a true story from my second year of college that I would love to make. It's a feature film though. Like it's a film that would probably cost a few $1 million. But I'd love to be able to do that. I'd love to work on that. That'd be amazing. I know Bruce has a few ideas, a couple of sci-fi ideas. I think he's even written a treatment for one. So we have ideas of things that we would love to do. But there's nothing concrete that we've entered development on yet. We're just sort of, our focus right now is really, in terms of the film side, is really to get all these. You can see back here, I have a ton, and it goes all the way along here, all the way up there. I have boxes and boxes. I have your t-shirts, I have your hoodies, I have your posters, all for the It's Me Billy perks. And myself and Bruce over the next couple of weeks are going to be packaging these things up and shipping them out. And the Blu-rays are being worked on as well. We're just waiting for an email back from our vendor, the guy that's going to be, or the company, I should say, that's going to be creating them and packaging them and all that, because we have to design the covers, which we're in the process of beginning to do that, and assembling the menus and stuff. And so that's kind of like we're really, we got to get those things out too, right? So we're focused on that. But yeah, I don't want to stop. But I've raised the bar for myself, and so has Bruce, right? It's Me, Billy. That doesn't mean we can't go out and make a short film that is very small and just maybe shot on, a DSLR or something. But to make a movie, again, we've set the bar for ourselves, and we like that. Like we want to achieve that. We want to be shooting, like that. Like it was just so much fun and such a great experience we want to be making movies. So nothing major yet, but you'll know as soon as I know. And maybe it'll be the second chapter to It's Me, Billy. Hopefully it will be. Like whenever we do it, we would like to bookend it. Like we don't want to leave you guys hanging, and don't think you know everything yet. There's more to tell, and it would be just one extra film. Like we're not turning this into like a 5-part series. We would like to bookend It's Me, Billy, wrap up the story, and connect everything so it's a Black Christmas trilogy. So you have Black Christmas, you have It's Me, Billy, and you have whatever the next part would be called. I don't know. Billy, It's Me, whatever it's going to be called. And it would make sense and connect the bigger picture and connect everything together. And we would love to do that, because it kind of feels unfinished, right? You know what I mean? So, but yeah, nothing immediate that I can share with you at this very moment. Let me scroll down here. Scrolling. Keep that scrolling going. Amstel54 says, Mr. Mcrae, can you give us your thoughts on They Live? I'm guessing it didn't land with you like it did many. No, I really liked They Live a lot. I haven't seen it in a number of years, but I did not like it. I'll have to watch. Like it's been probably over a decade since the last time I saw it, so I'd have to watch it again. But I like it. It's a favorite of mine when it comes to Carpenter for sure. So yeah. Robert Kitzmiller says, hey man, have you seen the new Conjuring yet? I have not. Would like to hear your opinion. What you liked and didn't like. Well, when The Conjuring came out here, the theaters weren't open yet. I couldn't go to the movie theaters. The province of Ontario, and I know I could have rented it as well, I think, but I wasn't going to spend $30 to do that. I haven't seen The Devil Made Me Do It yet. I will see it, but I just haven't seen it yet. The movie theaters didn't open here till like a couple of weeks ago. The province of Ontario, which is where I am in Canada. Canada's divided into 10 provinces and 3 territories. I live in Toronto, Ontario. In the province, it's like states, for those of you that don't know. I know you're like, Dave, come on, we know that. No, there's people out there, but like, what? I don't get it. So where I am in Ontario, we had the longest shutdown, the longest lockdown in North America. Our theaters have been closed since last November. They just opened 2 weeks ago. Seriously. It's fucking insane. So I haven't been to the last time I was at the movie theater was when I saw The Rise of Skywalker. That's the last time I've been to a movie theater. And so when the movie theaters opened a couple of weeks ago, I was like, there's nothing really I want to see. I mean, there's movies I could go see, but I'm not a Black Widow. Like I don't care about Black Widow. I don't care about Snake Eyes. You know what I mean? I don't care. I'm not a Space Jam thing. So, I haven't been yet. But there's movies coming up that I will probably definitely find myself in the theater to see. Yeah. Diddle it, diddle it, da, 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 da. Let me see here. Duke Fleet says, Dave, if you can't bookend IMB, that's me, Billy, will you do a video where you explain the rest of the story? That might not be a bad idea. Yeah. If I can't, if for whatever reason, like we just don't, because, again, in order for us to bookend It's Me, Billy, that's the level of production that it would be again, right? It would be probably at least another $60,000, and there's no guarantee that I can get the same crew back. You know what I mean? So, depending on who we have to hire, we may have to raise more money. It all depends. Or it may be less. Maybe, once the script is written and we do the breakdown and all that, we might find ourselves, maybe we can do this for 40,000. I don't know, but probably not. We have to, it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. And there's nothing left over. Nothing. Zilch. Zero. Nada. Like literally nothing. That's how precise we were. There's we didn't get paid. I didn't pay myself. Bruce didn't get paid. We literally did this for free. 100%. I'm not saying that as we got no, nothing. 100% nothing. And as a matter of fact, there's some stuff that was paid for out of pocket too. So, it's expensive making movies and, but if we can't bookend it for whatever reason, because we just don't raise the money or whatever, maybe we do like an audio thing or something. Maybe I invite the girls or, the actors. Maybe we do like a radio play, or something like that. Well, it wouldn't be the girls. It would be, cause it wouldn't be Shelby and Malika cause they wouldn't be in it, but it would be cause they're dead, obviously. Spoiler alert. It's been 2 months. If you haven't seen It's Me, Billy, now you're in no rush. That's a possibility. Could always do it at like a 30-minute radio play or something, I don't want to do that because that's also a lot of work. And I would still have to pay people to do it. So no, I wouldn't have to spend $60,000, but I would rather finish it as a movie. That's the goal. I want to do that. We've started it. We want to complete it, but a bar has been set. So we can't just complete it in the backyard with our friends on a phone. Now, we have to complete it at studio quality. We've started there, we have to end there. And that costs money, so we'll see what happens. But there's no script yet. Myself and Bruce have tossed around. We have been discussing it. I'll say, the ideas, they're not ideas we're making up as we go. The story's already kind of been set, but we've had early conversations about how we would build those blocks for a script, just to say, but nothing concrete yet. Nothing concrete yet. Indie Phantom says, yeah, they opened up theaters for some bad movies. I have no interest in Black Widow either. Yeah, neither do I. I just don't care. I when the theaters opened up, I was like, oh, that's really cool. And I looked and I was like, meh. I'll wait. But it's crazy. The fact that I haven't been in a movie theater in, a year and a half. I saw The Rise of Skywalker when it came out in December of 2019. I saw it twice. No, did I see it twice or 3 times? Because I saw it once with my girlfriend, and then I saw it once with Bruce and his kids. But I think that was all December. Yeah, it wasn't January. So December 2019 was the last time I was in a movie theater. I'm itching to go back, man. I love the movie theater. I can't wait to go back. There just isn't a movie right now that I care to see. I don't want to see a movie that I don't care to see just so I can watch a movie in the movie theater. I mean, I want it to be a movie that I want to see. You know what I mean? It's not just the movie theater experience itself. It's also the movie that's on the screen. All right, 4 more minutes, folks. 4 more minutes left to go in the program today. 4 more minutes to go. 4 more minutes to go. Mikey Son TV says, Dave, if you want to do a sequel, you should get started while the property is hot. Or should I say IMDb is hot on everyone's minds? Yeah, well, I mean, it's you know, it comes down to, you know, it's also, there's a variety of reasons, right? You want to let the film breathe, but it's also, you know, scheduling, right? I mean, if we were backed by a studio and we were paid to do this, then we would do it. I mean, people are paid to write scripts. People are paid to enter development. We're not. And, you know, as a full-time professional voice actor, that of course, you know, I have to do that. That's my job. That takes a lot of work. Bruce, of course, working full-time in the film industry, 9 to 5. And to be honest with you, he works more like 9 to 7. You know, that obviously they're very busy right now that the film industry is up and going again. He's extremely busy. So there's that as well, right? So it's finding that time. If we were backed by a studio, then the studio would want to capture on that exactly what you're saying, right? The studio would say, hey, shit, It's Me, Billy's a huge success. We want to capitalize on this. Let's enter development right away and let's do it. And if a studio wants to hire us to make this into a real, you know, official, I should say, Black Christmas sequel and pay us to enter development so I can take time off and actually do that, then let's do it. But in order to be able to enter development full-time on a sequel to It's Me, Billy, right now at this present time, well, we also have all the perks going. I got the channel here. I got my voiceover side of things. You know, it's easier said than done. It's easier said than done because we're not a studio. You know what I mean? But if we were studio-backed, then the studio would already say, okay, hey guys, here you go. Enter it. We're doing it. And it would be released all over online. It's Me, Billy, Chapter 2 enters development, and we're getting paid to do it. But we didn't make a dime. We didn't make a dime from It's Me, Billy. Contrary to what some people have tried to accuse us of, there was not a dime that was made for myself or Bruce. Nothing, like literally nothing. And literally to the point where we've paid for some things out of pocket. Not a lot. I just mean, you know, a few little, you know, incidental things here and there that can sometimes add up. So, I agree with the principle of what you're talking about. You want to strike while the iron's hot, which is one of the reasons why we have entered preliminary discussions, for sure, you know, talking about our extension of our Chapter 2 and what we would need to do. And, you know, we've jotted down some ideas and things like that. But to enter full-scale development, to go full-on head tilt, you know, it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work when you're not getting paid. But now that we've done what we've done, we have that breathing room now that when we do enter proper development, if we can, people will remember the quality for which we delivered, you know, and hopefully we will be able to raise the money we need, whatever it is. Hopefully we'll be able to raise the money we need because people will be able to go, oh, these are the guys that did It's Me, Billy. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Like they delivered quality. Let's fucking do this. You know what I mean? But I do agree with the principle of what you're talking about, right? You want to strike when things are hot, but unfortunately we're not a studio. So we can't bite off more than we can chew. We have to be very sort of, you know, I mean, it's why there was 3 years between Never Hike Alone and Never Hike in the Snow, right? You know, I mean, it's like, I'm sure in a perfect world, Vince would be like, let's do it right now. But he's not a studio either. He's a production company though. He is a legit production company, but he doesn't have the backing of a studio, you know, and I'm sure he would love the backing of a studio to just, hey, do this, we'll pay you to do this. And then he's like, great, I don't have to worry about working 19 hours on set every day to make, you know, as my job. Because Vince works in the industry too. He works on set all the time. I think he was just on the set of American Horror Story, if I'm not mistaken, but that's his job, right? And he's working like 19 hours on set, and then he comes home and then he works on his campaign. You know what I mean? So it's tough. It's tough when you're independent filmmakers to have that time to be able to really. There isn't an independent filmmaker alive today that would not want to fully focus on movies. Do you know what I mean? Right? But when you're not hired by a studio, it can be difficult, you know, and not that we don't enjoy the jobs we do. I mean, I enjoy my job. I always have as a voice actor, and I wouldn't have made the connections I have today if it wasn't for the job that I have and certain people that I know, which is great, which has been very beneficial for me, even when it comes to the filmmaking side as well, because, you know, it's all connected. You know, whether you're in voiceover or marketing or directing, writing, producing, whatever it is, it's all part of the entertainment industry, and they overlap along the way. If you're in it long enough, you do, and if you work at a certain level, you do meet all sorts of different peoples, and you know, my God, my fucking thing just flipped over and hit my thing. I don't know if you heard that. You know, you meet all sorts of types of people and stuff, and so I certainly would not want to stop what I'm doing because I enjoy my job, but to go full in, it can be tricky. So, you know, we want the film to breathe a little bit and kind of, you know, take our time with it, and then we'll strike. Hopefully we'll be able to do that, you know what I mean, in terms of the logistics of it, because we'd love to bookend it, man. But I agree in theory, you know, what you're talking about. Yeah, it'd be fucking amazing to be able to do that. Micahson TV follows up with, yeah, makes sense, but we look forward to the story for sure. Thanks. Yeah, no problem, man. Thanks for being here. Yeah, well, like I said, I mean, don't think you know it all yet. You know, how could she be in the basement? That doesn't make any sense. What's going on? Well, that's the point. We wanted to end on this, like, what? You know, to make you go, take my money, I want to see it. You know what I mean? That's what you do, right? But it wasn't arbitrarily done. It wasn't just for that. We know where we're going. We want to finally connect everything together, you know? So hopefully we'll have a chance to do it. Okay, I've gone over time here a little bit, but I did take a bit longer on that question, so I'll answer just a couple of more here. Let me see here. Something I haven't seen yet. Next Gen Studio says, what's your favorite breakfast food? Dave, I like that. I'm a cereal guy. I love cereal. Honey Bunches of Oats, Cheerios, Honey Nut Cheerios, Mini Wheats, Honeycombs, whatever. Just give me some fucking cereal. I love cereal. Cereal's good. I think there's some new people in here today, which is great. Great to see you guys here. Welcome. And I think I've gotten everything. I don't think there were any other super chats. There were only a couple of super chats that came in today. So I think I got it. I don't think I missed anybody's super chat as far as I know. So we will leave it there for today's show. I want to thank my moderators, of course, Frank Riker, Tabitha Shore, Darren Sands, and Chris Baber for doing what you guys do. You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. Thank you to the couple super chats that came in. I really appreciate it. The non-super chat questions that came in. It was kind of nice to be able to filter through some non-super chat questions today. That was always cool. I really appreciate it. Guys, if you're watching right now or if you're watching after the fact, comment below and let me know your thoughts on the new Ghostbusters Afterlife trailer, and of course this Exorcist situation, this Exorcist news that has come to light. What are your thoughts on that? Let me know. I would really like to know. If you want to follow me on Facebook, you can. Twitter, Instagram, all my links, well, they're right there, but they're also in the description to my official website, my IMDb. It's all down there. Check them out until your heart's content, and when your heart is content, check them out again. Have a great rest of your Tuesday, and I will talk to you guys soon. Alrighty. Cheers.